The eternal contract, a kingdom reclaimed. The world was holding its breath. The revelation of a hidden son, the ominous, eternal contract, and the ghostly presence of the Chronicle had transformed a nostalgic tragedy into a live-fire thriller. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo were no longer just star-crossed lovers. They were pawns in a dangerous game, their every move watched by an unseen enemy. The carefully maintained facades of a decade began to crumble in real time. The siege. The fallout from the Chronicle's final post was immediate and vicious. Lee Min-ho's agency, King Entertainment, went into lockdown. His scheduled appearances were cancelled, citing security concerns. Song Hye-kyo, always more reclusive, vanished entirely. The media camped outside their agencies and residences, creating a circus of flashing lights and shouted questions. But the real battle was not against the paparazzi. It was against the architect of their prison. The first major twist came from an unexpected source. Park Shin-hye, a respected senior actress and a long-time, quiet friend of Song Hye-kyo. In a move that shocked the industry, she gave a carefully worded interview. She spoke not of scandals, but of unseen chains in their industry, of shadow contracts that bound artists beyond their professional lives. She never named names, but she spoke of a mother's silent strength that endured years of hardship. It was a signal, a message to Hye-kyo that she was not alone. The industry, for the first time, was beginning to choose sides. The ghost in the machine. The Chronicle returned, but its tone had changed. No longer just a revealer of secrets, it became a narrator, guiding the public through the maze. The next leak was not a photo or audio, but a complex financial document, a shell company based in the Cayman Islands, with a trail of transactions leading back to a powerful, family-owned conglomerate with deep ties to King Entertainment's major shareholder, a reclusive tycoon known only as Chairman Kwon. The plot thickened. This was no longer just about a scandal, it was about corporate power, money, and control. The blog post attached to the documents posed a chilling question. Is the eternal contract not just about silencing a star, but about controlling a bloodline? Is the heir to a K-drama throne also the unwitting heir to a real-life empire he can never claim? The breaking point. Driven into a corner, Lee Min-ho made his move. It was not a calculated PR stunt, but a raw, human act of desperation. During a live broadcast for a brand endorsement, an event that could not be cancelled, the host gently asked about the stressful rumors. Instead of the scripted denial, Min-ho looked directly into the camera. His face, usually composed, was a mask of anguish and resolve. "I have lived a lie for 10 years, he began, his voice trembling but clear. "I have obeyed a contract that demanded I deny the most important part of my life. My son, his name is Ji-hoon. And to his mother." He paused, swallowing hard, the weight of a decade pressing down on him. "To Hye-kyo, I promise protection, but I built a cage. The eternal contract exists. It was not signed for money, but under threat. A threat not to me, but to them." The broadcast was cut, but it was too late. The confession was everywhere. He had broken the first and most sacred rule. He had spoken the truth. The twisted truth revealed. In the chaos that followed Min-ho's confession, the Chronicle released its final, masterstroke leak. It was the complete, eternal contract, and its contents were more sinister than anyone could have imagined. The blackmail was not, as many assumed, merely the threat of exposing the child. Chairman Kwon, a man obsessed with legacy but whose own son had died years prior, had orchestrated the entire ordeal. He saw in Lee Min-ho not just a star, but a surrogate, a perfect, polished public figure. When he discovered Min-ho's child, he saw his opportunity. The eternal contract was a diabolical agreement. Min-ho would deny his son publicly and remain the sole, celibate face of King Entertainment, effectively becoming Kwon's public heir. In return, Kwon would provide for the child in secret, ensuring a life of luxury and safety. But the final clause was the most chilling. Upon Chairman Kwon's death, full custody and the truth would be transferred to Min-ho. He was trading a decade of his son's life for his ultimate future safety. The threat that enforced it? If Min-ho ever broke the contract, Kwon's vast resources would be used to launch a vicious custody battle, dragging Hye-kyo through the mud, using her past relationships and every private moment against her, ensuring she would be deemed an unfit mother by the public and the courts. He wasn't just threatening a scandal, he was threatening to legally obliterate her and take her child forever. The reckoning. Song Hye-kyo, upon seeing the full contract and Minho's confession, did not break. She solidified. She released a statement through her lawyer, not as a victim, but as a queen reclaiming her throne. It is true. My son, Ji-hoon, is my greatest blessing and my greatest strength. For 10 years, I have fought a silent war against a monster who sought to own my family. That war is now over. The threats are empty. I have faced every one of my pasts, and I wear them as armor, not shame. Lee Min-ho's confession was not an apology, it was an act of freedom. We will now face the future as a family on our own terms. Her statement was a declaration of victory. It revealed that the Chronicle was in fact a collective effort, a small, trusted team of her most loyal confidants, including a private investigator and a reformed former employee of King Entertainment, who had helped her gather evidence against Kwon for years. She had been playing the long game, waiting for the right moment to strike. The pleasing resolution. The fallout was swift. Chairman Kwon, exposed and vilified, saw his company's stock plummet. He was investigated for coercion and financial crimes, his empire collapsing under the weight of the scandal. The world watched as Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo, after a decade of separation, were finally photographed together. It was not a romantic reunion, but something more profound, a united front. They were seen entering a school play, their son Ji-hoon between them. The boy, with his father's eyes and his mother's smile, was no longer a secret. He was a symbol of survival. The story did not end with a fairy tale wedding. It ended with something more realistic and more powerful: peace. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo did not rekindle their romantic relationship. The years of pain and separation had forged a different bond, one of deep, unbreakable respect and a shared, ferocious love for their son. They co-parented with a grace that silenced their remaining critics. Lee Min-ho's first project after the scandal was an indie film about a father reconnecting with his child. It was hailed as the performance of his career, raw and authentic. Song Hye-kyo produced and starred in a thriller about a woman dismantling a corrupt corporation, a role she performed with an unnerving, personal intensity. They had indeed been casualties of fame. But in the wreckage, they did not find ruin. They found their true selves. They found their son. And they built a new kind of kingdom, not of glitter and spotlights, but of truth, hard-won freedom, and the quiet, powerful love of a family that had endured the unthinkable and emerged, scarred but unbroken, into the light.